In the mid-1800s, the United States of America was growing fast, but so were its divisions. Two very different worlds existed under one flag, the industrial North and the agricultural South. At first glance, it was just about economy, but beneath the surface lay a dark truth: slavery. Tensions rise. In the South, slavery was the backbone of life. Plantations, cotton fields, and the entire economy depended on enslaved labor. But in the North, a new idea was spreading: that no human should own another. Writers, activists, and abolitionists began to speak out. Books like Uncle Tom's Cabin opened the nation's eyes to the cruelty of slavery. Protests grew, and so did anger from the South. By the 1850s, America was no longer united. Every new state that joined the Union had one burning question: would it be a free state or a slave state? The balance of power in Congress hung by a thread. Violence erupted in places like Kansas, where pro-slavery and anti-slavery settlers fought in bloody battles. The press called it Bleeding Kansas. The rise of Lincoln. Then came a man who would change everything: Abraham Lincoln. In 1860, Lincoln ran for president on the promise to stop the spread of slavery. To the South, he was a threat to their way of life. And when Lincoln won the election, they refused to accept it. One by one, Southern states seceded. They left the Union and formed their own country, the Confederate States of America. The road to war. In April 1861, Confederate forces attacked a U.S. military fort, Fort Sumter, in South Carolina. Cannon fire echoed across the harbor, and within hours the Union flag fell. The news spread like wildfire. Lincoln declared the Union must be preserved. The Civil War had begun. Families were torn apart. Brothers stood against brothers. What began as a political dispute had turned into the deadliest war in American history. This was no longer about politics. It was about the soul of a nation. By 1861, the United States was at war with itself, the Union in the North, and the Confederacy in the South. Both sides believed they were fighting for freedom, but their meanings of freedom could not have been more different. The First Blood. The first major battle came at Bull Run, near Washington, D.C. Crowds of civilians came to watch, expecting a quick Union victory, but the reality of war struck hard. The Confederates fought fiercely, and the Union Army was crushed. The people of America realized this war would not be over in weeks, it would last for years. Life on the battlefield. As the war dragged on, both sides faced unimaginable suffering. Disease, hunger, and exhaustion claimed more lives than bullets. Medicine was primitive, and amputations were common. Young soldiers wrote letters home, dreaming of peace that seemed further away each day. For many, the war became a nightmare they could never escape. Turning points and tragedy. In 1862, the Union scored a narrow victory at Antietam, the bloodiest single day in American history. Over 22,000 men were killed or wounded in just one day. The horror shocked both sides, but it gave Abraham Lincoln the moment he needed: a new purpose: freedom. In 1863, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring that all enslaved people in Confederate states were now free. The war was no longer just about preserving the Union, it became a fight for human freedom. The move inspired millions, and turned the Civil War into a moral revolution. But freedom came at a heavy price. The South resisted fiercely, and the battlefields turned red with sacrifice. The Battle of Gettysburg. Then came Gettysburg, the most famous battle of them all. For 3 days in July 1863, the two armies clashed in the hills of Pennsylvania. Cannons roared, men fell, and when the smoke cleared, over 50,000 soldiers were dead or wounded. The Union had won the battle, but the war was far from over. Out of fire and blood, a new idea of America was being born, one that believed in liberty for all. But as victory drew closer, darker days were yet to come. By 1864, the Civil War had raged for 3 long, painful years. Cities lay in ruins, families were torn apart, and both the Union and the Confederacy were running out of hope. But one man refused to give up: Abraham Lincoln. The final push: Lincoln appointed Ulysses S. Grant as commander of the Union Army. Grant was relentless. He pushed deep into the South, destroying railways, supplies, and morale. Meanwhile, General William T. Sherman led his famous March to the Sea. He burned everything in his path: cities, crops, even homes, determined to break the will of the Confederacy. The South was collapsing. By early 1865, Confederate soldiers were starving, and their government was falling apart. The surrender at Appomattox. On April 9, 1865, inside a small house in Appomattox, Virginia, Confederate General Robert E. Lee met with Union General Grant. There were no cheers, no hatred, only silence and exhaustion. Grant offered generous terms. The soldiers could go home, keeping their horses, to rebuild their lives. The Civil War was finally over. After 4 years, over 600,000 Americans were dead. The nation had survived, but at a terrible cost. A nation reborn and a leader lost. Just 5 days after the surrender, on the night of April 14, 1865, President Abraham Lincoln went to the theater in Washington, D.C. As the audience laughed, a single gunshot rang out. Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth, a Southern sympathizer who wanted revenge. The man who had saved the Union would never live to see it heal. The Reconstruction era. After Lincoln's death, America entered a new battle, Reconstruction. The North tried to rebuild the South and bring freedom to millions of newly emancipated people, but hatred and division didn't vanish overnight. The scars of war ran deep. Binderidinasted Dan Id Brahman. True equality was far from over. The Civil War ended slavery, but it also changed what it meant to be American. Out of blood, sacrifice and pain, a new nation was born, one that believed in liberty, even when it came at the greatest cost. And though the war had divided America, it also taught her the price of unity and the power of freedom. This was the war that divided America, the story of how a nation broke apart and found itself again.